10 days or so away from departing the club. Just give us a little oversee of your time here at Somerset County Cricket Club and how you've enjoyed and maybe not enjoyed the process to date.
It's 4 years. It's 4 years now I've been in post, and I guess it's been a bit of a bumpy ride at times. I think everybody knows within a week of my appointment we were in lockdown, and that wasn't quite how I'd envisaged the job, and that tested me and many others as well. Trying to get the club through that and keep everybody healthy, that was an experience and a big chapter for the memoirs. But I think overriding pride at having served the club and just had a very small part in its history, because actually what I feel is that when you're in jobs like this, you're a tenant, you're not the landlord, right? You're only keeping the seat warm for someone else because you're a guardian of the club, and that's been an immense privilege. And Andy Hurry said to me on my first day, he said, "There's something about this place that gets under your skin," and I thought, what does he mean by that? But now I know what he means, because it just gets inside you. And I've said to many people, it doesn't matter where I go in my life now, the Wyvern will be very close to my heart.
Is it? Do you think it's got anything to do with the Thatcher cider that flows through the veins of everyone in Somerset?
Well, I don't know.
Can you elaborate on this club getting under your skin? I know exactly what you mean, by the way, but I was born and bred in Somerset, so I get that. But
I think it's the deep love of cricket, wherever you look, and the knowledge of cricket by so many people. I mean, I remember coming down before I took the job and looked at, the Wickets coffee shop and the Cricketers' Arms and the Ring of Bells with stumps in it, the rest of it. Cricket runs through this place. I mean, and I've often said to ECB, you do realise that cricket's the biggest sport in Somerset, right? Tell me another county where that's the case. There isn't one. And that makes it pretty special, I think. And the fact also you have a town centre location, I think, makes it pretty special. And it just feels, when I go out in town, I very rarely go out with someone saying hi. And I don't know who they are, right? But they kind of obviously understand what I do. And that's been, it's been an immense privilege, and I love the place. And I'm leaving with very, very mixed feelings, because professionally, we're taking off now. I think we've got the foundations in place, and the news that I'm sure we'll come on to early this week just really puts us on the runway and puts us in a very strong position. And I'll miss that, and I'll miss the people, but I need to put my family before others now. It's time to do that, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, 4 years immersed into a job that is encompassing, I suppose, isn't it? It does take up a lot of your time, and I'm sure that the supporters will echo my thoughts of you're always welcome. And like I said, you've played a really important part of 4 of the nearly 250 years history of the club, and you've set us in great shape, fantastic shape in an area we'll go on to in a short while. I mean, did taking the job and being a cricket man yourself, is it sort of gone the way that you'd hoped? Obviously, starting in that COVID period, and then I think our first interaction, I'll always look back fondly on our first members forum when we spent a good hour debating on the printing of the 2021 almanac and how disgruntled everyone was, and the lack of mayonnaise on offer in the Colin Atkinson Pavilion. I mean, that's something as CEO is very very unique to the world of cricket, I can imagine.
It is. But it matters to the people who mention it. Yeah, it's they have their. The thing that struck me is the challenging piece of the job has been that, especially at the moment, you're dealing with massive strategic issues that have a long-term consequence on this club and on cricket. Whether that be the 100 or the women's game or the next county partnership agreement or ground development or whatever it is. You're dealing with those huge strategic issues one day, and then you're talking about mayonnaise the following day. And that's just the nature of the gig, because that's the size of operation. But what we've got to try and do, and what we've tried to do, and it's getting harder, is to mix the heart and soul of the club, who this place matters to, and have rituals. And I'll tell you a story in a second, but people who have rituals mix that heart and soul with the commercial reality of sport today is really transforming at pace. And that's very challenging to get the mixture of those cultures, which you're going to need to. If you want to be at the top table of sport, you're going to need to merge those cultures. And that's a challenge, and I found that a challenge. And sometimes you go too commercial, sometimes you come too far. It's getting that balance. But the story I'll tell you about sport, 20 years ago, I sat next to this QPR fan at a dinner in London. And I said, why do you support QPR with all the teams in London, Arsenal, Tottenham? And he said, it's like this. He said, when I was 5, my dad took me to Loftus Road and we stopped at the pub and I had cheese and onion crisps and I wasn't allowed cheese and onion crisps other than that day on a Saturday before the game. Then we walked to Loftus Road from the pub and we sat in the stand and we have these 2 season tickets. And I've still got those season tickets today, the same seats. And it's in the old stand where you've still got the stanchions in and he said in one seat you couldn't see the goal at one end. And the other, so what Dad and I did is we swapped seats. Right, so one week I had to peer around the stanchion, the next week he did. And he said, I've still got those tickets for me and my son. If they ever take the stanchion down, I'm not renewing. And that teaches you something about what sport means to people. And we've got people who will, go to the ringing bells for a drink before they come in. They've got their rituals because they've done it for years. And it's an emotional relationship with sport. And it's important that we try to maintain that. And at the same time commercialise so that we can fund cricket that is becoming more and more expensive. And that's a challenging part of the job.
Yeah, one you've completed magnificently well. One of the few counties, as we spoke the other day, that are profitable. Year on year, putting in those sheets of paper that say that Somerset are in a good financial position. So I suppose as CEO, that's kind of that's your runs and wickets, I suppose.
Well, and it's an important point, Triggs, because I've always said in sport that as soon as you lose control of money, you lose control of absolutely everything, and we're seeing that now in other places. Some counties that are really in tough financial position, and once you lose control of money, you can't control the damn thing. Because you certainly can't invest in cricket, you can't invest in stewarding, you've got to keep control of money. And the point that I've made many times is that we're not here to make money. We're here to generate money to fund cricket. And there's a big difference. We're not got money going to shareholders and all that. We're here to generate money to fund cricket, fund the maintenance of the facilities. And that's getting harder and harder as each year. And inflation and cricket inflation, world inflation. So my job has really been to try and keep the ship stable, make sure we control the purse, but remain competitive and try and get that balance. But it's not easy.
Which you have done, keeping those coffers full for Andy Hurry and Jason Kerr to spend wisely on the cricket, which they do so. But not only men's cricket, the recent news, fantastic news in the women's game, which is growing ever more rapid. I think for the people that don't know, Somerset have had a massive part to play in the emergence of Western Storm and a lot of the infrastructure. If you'd like to share with everyone a bit of context behind why our bid for Tier 1 status next year was successful. I'm sure what we've done in the past has a part to play in that.
No doubt, and I think it's important to pay tribute now to all the staff, past and present, who have played a role in the creation of Western Storm, and a number of them have done that voluntarily. Most of them have done that voluntarily, and to actually put the foundations in place for us to win that bid earlier in this week. And I think that firstly what is actually happening is what the ECB have decided is to take away the central control of the regions and embed a women's team in 8 counties, so that the county then has a women's team as well as a men's team. And you deliver both from within that county rather than it being an external organisation. And I think that's a good thing, personally. So we put forward a very ambitious, what we called an ambitious, bold and responsible submission, which was seeking to get genuine parity. And what I mean by that, and we were chatting about it earlier, weren't we? But genuine parity, I don't see that very many places in sport. I see a lot of lip service about genuine parity, about giving women an equal opportunity with men, creating a profession for young girls to aspire to achieve, and give that. But that's challenging to do it because we're in a men's club that's actually 149 years old. it gives us an opportunity to embed the women's game and to give girls the opportunity, the equal opportunity, not just push them out to a club ground here or there, but genuine parity is very rare in my experience. And we put forward that submission, and what we're excited. I think what's really interesting, Triggs, is that over the last, how long is it now, 48 hours or whatever, since the announcement, or since we found out, I've had more text messages on that congratulating me than I got when we won the Blast last summer. How amazing is that? Because if you think back 5 years ago, that would never have happened. But there's genuine, I think, pride in the club that we've managed to get it and be one of 8, when some big fish have not been, no Yorkshire, no Lords. So we've done well, but now we've got to deliver. And that we need to deliver responsibly, and we need to level up over time. And there's you can level down quite easily. I could say to Andy and Jason, look, by the way, I'm taking a couple of £100,000 out of your budget because I'm spending it on women's cricket. We're not going to do that. Because what you do if you do that is you create just an army of enemies who hate women's cricket, and that we've got to level up. We've got to find the money to invest in women's cricket and level up and give them real parity of opportunity, and parity costs money, whether it's facilities, coaching resources, back office staff. But when you look at our website in due course, you won't know the difference. It will be men and women. Like if you look at Chelsea's website now, men, women, it's just the same. And we're going to go on that journey. Now, it will take time. It will take time because we can't just magic up everything overnight. But we're putting together now an implementation plan of what we can do and when we can do it. We'll be sensible, we'll be responsible, we'll be honest. But the ambition is bold. The ambition is to get to that genuine parity position that very few have got.
So as you say, coming up to 150 years of cricket here for Somerset in the men's team. A couple of years, I believe, in professional contracts for the women of Western Storm. Next year, year 1. What would year 5 you look like for Western Storm, or whatever they might be named in 5 years' time? What would be your perfect scenario? Would it be a separate ground somewhere in the local area?
Yeah. So what I would say is think tennis. And you look at Wimbledon, and you've got 2 competitions going on under the same banner of Wimbledon every year, but it's parity. There's slight differences. The women play 3 sets, men play 5 sets, but there's parity of opportunity. And now in that case, there's even parity of winnings, which is very recent. So it took them a long time to get to it. So think what a gender parity competition like Wimbledon looks like, and then think cricket. So what you're looking at, you come into our ground and you look at the Hall of Fame that we had up until this year, and there's not a woman in sight, right? But that's because we've been a male club for 149 years. It doesn't make it wrong. It just means that things move. So you come into the ground and you'll look at it, and you'll look at the ground and say, yeah, this is for men and women, like you would tennis, yeah. You'd have a picture of going back to my days of Navratilova in one and Jimmy Connors in the next, or whatever. That's way out of date, I know that. But you genuinely have a club that you look at, and then that's then reflected. So at the moment, we've got 21% of women who are members. 1 out of 50. But I want it to go up to get to 50. I don't want less men and more women. I want to go up. And that's what it'll look like. It will look genuine. You'll have women playing, in the same kit as the men. And genuinely, I want you have sellouts here for 20. I genuinely believe that's possible. That why shouldn't we have a T20 women's game sold out here? I think it's doable. I think the pace of change is so quick that could happen, and it needs that ambition, that vision, that boldness, I guess, to set the sights that high. And even if we don't sell out, but we're 90% full, that's okay. But what it will mean initially is finding investment. So if there's anybody out there that wants to invest money in women's cricket, please ring me.
In the next 10 days.
In the next 10 days. So it will take investment, because when you're starting a new business, you need to invest up front before you get a return. So Arsenal mentioned this a few times. So Arsenal got 60,000 against Chelsea women at the Emirates, right? 60,000, £8 a ticket. So what they're doing is they're investing in the product, for want of a better expression, or a crude commercial comment, but they're investing in that product to get girls to want to come along as a habit and a ritual to come to that match and build a relationship with Arsenal that they wouldn't have if it was just men. And that's and then your point that you made to me earlier off air was you've got to get them wanting to spend their leisure money on cricket. Right, so there's a journey here.
Them being
young girls.
Girls and women.
So yeah, and you made that point when we were chatting, didn't you, about young girls who, at the minute, wouldn't say, "Oh, I'll spend my pocket money on going to the cricket." Right? They wouldn't. They'd, might go out to a nightclub or something like that, or they wouldn't be young girls if they would do that. But you know what I'm saying. They wouldn't choose cricket right now. What we've got to do is give them an experience here where cricket gets under their skin, and that's what they want to do. They want to engage, and we've got it in pockets. And we've got 21%, but there's loads more out there. If we get this right, there's loads more out there. And I think that the message about the text message is just, that's what I mean. It is relevant. It's here. I think England Euros win football, which pained me at the time as a Scotsman. But I think that did a lot for women's sport because it was almost kind of made it really exciting. Women's sport, I want to watch that. I think that was great for cricket as well as football. So when you think about 5 years' time, full houses blast, wearing the same kit, you look at the ground and you think, that's a Wimbledon type experience, if I can use that.
Taking all those positive moments that we've had in women's sport from an English point of view and driving those forward. In terms of Western Storm, I know a lot of the women's clubs at the moment do span across different counties. None as large as the Western Storm area at the moment. We've got Wales, Gloucester, Somerset, Devon, Cornwall.
Yep, a few miles.
An enormous span. I know one of the negatives, I suppose, to the 100 or the closest 100 ball team being in Wales, that no one from Somerset is interested in going to support the Welsh Fire. Is that a potential thing that the club are going to have to get over in terms of naming of the whatever the Western Storm might come in, change to in the future, making sure that you don't, alienate people from Gloucester, from Devon, from Cornwall, from Wales in supporting what is the new Western Storm?
I think it's a really good point in that the strength that we have is our region, and that's the same in men's cricket, by the way. Even though we're called Somerset, our strength is in Devon, Cornwall, Somerset, bit of Dorset, Wiltshire. It's that, and that's our strength. And we mustn't lose that. So close collaboration with Gloucestershire, Glamorgan, Wiltshire, Devon, that's really important. It's important in men's cricket and it's important in women's cricket. I mean, men's cricket more south, where we, Devon, Cornwall, we have great relationships. So yeah, that is really, really important. We mustn't lose that.
Sponsored by Future Media, number 58.
Gordon, the players are on their way out into the middle, starting the innings, but over our interactions, I think you've been a huge asset to Somerset County Cricket Club. Again, I'm sure I echo the thoughts of all of our fans and staff. You're always welcome and warmly welcome. And I think in some ways your effort and passion to bring Western Storm, Somerset together is potentially your long-lasting legacy, and I'm sure it'll be very successful. So thank you for everything you've done for the club.
Thank you.
And being the batting coach now for the Western Storm, I'm sure I can speak for the girls as well. They're very, very appreciative of everything the staff at Somerset County Cricket Club have done for them.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Trees. Thank you.
Luke Fletcher to open the
Great to
bowling.
speak to Gordon Hollins there. The sadly exiting CEO of Somerset County Cricket Club. He's been magnificent, like I said. Positive returns in the bank balance and able to afford high quality overseas players like we're looking to hopefully enjoy a batting afternoon with Matt Renshaw now. Luke Fletcher taking the new ball